I'm going to show you in this short video how to collate your data. So really what collating is, it's just tallying your data. So for the local area study, you're going to have 20 surveys and you're going to have to make some meaning of the data that you've got. So let's start. This is where you should be. You should have your 20 surveys here that have all been completed. Here is my original survey sheet, and I'll show you in a moment what this is. This is a sheet that allows me to record my collated data. So this is where you should be at this point. So as I said from the last slide, this is my original. And then what I've done, you can see it here, I've got my original survey, and just underneath all of the options that a respondent could tick, I just put a small grid box. This allows me to, when I count my surveys, it allows me to neatly and accurately write down underneath them and the tally of how many people have ticked a certain answer. Just makes your final product easier to read and easier to interpret, and you'll see that at the end. I guess the main thing that you've got to watch out for before you start tallying, you've got to go through every survey and just make sure that you think that it is has been accurately filled out and is representative of your population. Here is an example of a survey that was completed that I would look at and probably discard for a few reasons. You can see here they've written that they get to the park by a helicopter, and what is your primary activity at the park? They've written that they smell. Now, this is not a particularly helpful survey, and so as a result, I would always encourage you to maybe do 22 to 23 surveys. So if you get home and you find a survey like this, you can remove it from your sample, and you're not then stuck with having to go back out or have less surveys to complete. Okay, I'm going to show you now in this section how you go about collating your data. What you'll have is you have your 20 surveys, your original survey sheet, then you've got this collated sheet, which I've already started writing on, where you've got everything on your original sheet. You've just got some grid boxes, so it makes it easy to collate the data under. So we'll start. Let's do male, female first. I've actually already done this one, but what you'll be doing here is just sifting through your surveys and working out how many males, how many females. Okay, so I've split them. I know I have 20 surveys, so I just count out the female 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can see here I've got 5 female and obviously 15 male to equal my 20. I'll do the next one. The next question is this: how far they live from the park, and I'll have to split into 4 groups. So 10, 10, 1 to 2, 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 3 to 5, 3 to 5. As you can see, I've already split this one, and I'm just counting it out as we go. When you've done this one, you won't be able to just use a process of deduction. You'll actually have to count them all. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I'll write 9 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 1 and 3. Now to make sure when you do those that those will all add up to your 20. If they don't, you've miscounted somewhere. Clearly you're going to have to do the same process with all of your different questions as you go down. You'll get in a roll and it won't take you too long, and so that's the process that you're going to have to go to do all of your questions there. Okay, once you've done all that, you can see here I've gone through and oops, let me just get my pen up. You can see here I've gone through and put in all my responses. If you've ever got a response here where you've given them other, I always put a little line there so I can write the other responses, so that can help you as you go along. Now this is very helpful now, because now you can pick your survey or pick your questions that you think you're going to graph. And for the assessment, you've got to graph 2 questions. You clearly want to graph a question that has several options, and so that way it's a graph and it's a question that allows you to discuss a little bit. If I was choosing one here, I would probably look at graphing either question 3, question 6, I might graph question 8, but clearly I can probably graph any questions from 3 down to 8, and I could probably even graph question 1. The thing that you've got to be careful with, and it's why I encourage you to do more than sort of 5 to 6 multiple choice questions, is if you do get a question where every single response is, say, for walk, like let's say take question 5 here, if everyone had said walk and that was your only multiple choice question, it's not a particularly helpful graph, so it's why you give yourself a lot of options there. Now, with that said, we can discuss our general results, but what we really need to be able to do is discuss trends, and that's what we're going to look at now. Okay, what is a trend? A trend is a pattern, and really what we're trying to do with a trend is we're trying to make meaning. We're trying to make meaning from our statistics. What I've done is I've gone through here and I've found my statistics. You can see I've annotated over my data. I've looked at the females and I've looked at the older responses, and I'll show you in a moment what I've done. Okay, so once you've got to this point where you've collated all your data, you need to find trends. From the slide before, I showed you this page. What I've done is it's a necessity for you to find a trend or a pattern in your data. So what you'll have to do, and what I've done is I've gone through certain sections. I've identified small cohorts, like, for example, the females here. I noticed there was only 5 females, so I thought I'll go back to my 5 females and see if there's something that appears in the data there. I also went to my 4 elderly respondents, or older age respondents, and saw if there was a trend in those 4 as well. What you do then is you then go through and examine it, and what I've found with the females is that of the 5, all 5 of them fell within the younger age groups. Of that, they all lived close to the park, 4 of them being within 2 kilometres and only 1 of them being within 3 to 5. All 5 of them went more than once a week, and they all were fairly active, either running or walking the dog at the park. So that there is a trend. It's a pattern that we can discuss. The same way of the older age respondents lived further away from the park. They only visited once a month. And they either got public transport or the car, 3 and 1 of them, but all of them, though, went to the cafe. So once again, I've picked out 2 small cohorts, the females and the elderly and the older respondents, and I've tried to find if there are any patterns that have occurred or are noticeable. What that does, it allows me to, in my results section, discuss, I guess, with a little bit more meaning, my results, and that's what we're trying to do with the trends. We're trying to find meaning in the data, and so you may find that your females or your males or a certain age group doesn't present a trend. If it doesn't, you'll have to go through, and maybe it might be that the people that live closer do something. So you'll just have to go through and find a trend. My suggestion would be that you need to find probably 2 trends here, and these are the 2 trends that I've found that I'm able to now discuss with some confidence. Okay, so as a general conclusion, I guess the things that you've got to focus on here is making sure that you've got a good sample, a good 20 surveys. You count them out individually. You tally your results on a collated sheet, which you can bring into class and discuss in the results section. You need to pick out 2 questions that are going to be easy to use in the graphing section. So you're going to make your pie graph and your column graph. And then the hardest part of it is to find trends, to find a pattern somewhere in your data. And it might be with your younger males, it might be with your older females, it might be with your males that live closer to the park, it might be with your females that walk to the park, it might be with all the people that live at the cafe, go to the cafe. You're going to just have to find and go through your data, and that's probably the most time-consuming part of it. Going through the smaller cohorts, go through the smaller responses, things that, maybe 5 people have chosen, and just see if there's something about them that you can then talk about in your report. Okay, hopefully you found this helpful. Collating data is a process that can take you a little while. I'd suggest that you get onto it sooner rather than later. It's certainly not a complicated task, but it can be a very time-consuming task. So hopefully this helps you out and gives you some tips. Enjoy the rest of the task and have a great rest of the day.